It is claimed that Filipinos are currently being removed from major American cities without prior warning. Below is an outline of cities where families might allegedly be targeted next. Before we start, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps motivate us to create more great content like this. Number 10, Houston. The environment in Houston has reportedly undergone rapid changes. Previously considered a calm haven for immigrants, the city is now described as becoming a significant location for silent deportations. Filipino workers employed in logistics hubs and private clinics have allegedly disappeared suddenly, often from one week to the next. Families who have resided quietly in the area for years are reportedly finding themselves compelled to pack their belongings overnight. These removals are purportedly not made public. They occur discreetly, often beginning with an unexpected visit from authorities. This situation has reportedly unsettled a community that previously felt secure living inconspicuously. The most frequently cited cause for these removals is workplace raids. However, unlike past practices, enforcement agents are allegedly not merely verifying identification but are also examining pay stubs, licenses, and even online job advertisements. Filipinos who initially arrived on business or tourist visas and subsequently remained for employment are now said to be under scrutiny. Others reportedly overstayed their visas during the pandemic when returning home was difficult due to flight unavailability, yet they are now allegedly being treated as fugitives. Some individuals were reportedly apprehended simply for being present in a specific vanpool at an inopportune moment. The situation is described as chaotic, with little to no warning provided to those affected. The text suggests Filipinos are targeted because enforcement efforts in Houston have shifted towards low-risk deportations. Officials purportedly find it simpler to process Filipinos because most allegedly do not resist and tend to cooperate, making them easier targets according to this claim. Furthermore, Houston's data-sharing practices with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, have reportedly increased, linking records from local hospitals and community aid organizations to immigration databases. The implied message is that regardless of the duration of residence, an individual's future is now dictated by their documentation, and for many, that future is being nullified. Number 9, Chicago. In Chicago, the alleged removals did not commence with raids but rather reportedly began with official letters, followed by phone calls, and then an absence of communication. Filipino families, some residing in basements, rented rooms, and shared apartments for over a decade, purportedly disappeared suddenly. These actions allegedly did not garner media attention, but within close-knit Filipino communities, such as those in Albany Park and West Ridge, individuals reportedly began vanishing week by week. The process is described as quiet yet harsh. The reasons provided are complex, involving expired F1 student visas, unresolved asylum cases, and job transfers that were never officially approved. More alarmingly, there has been a reported increase in what local residents term data hunting. Social service providers, including clinics and shelters, allegedly began enforcing stricter identification verification and subsequently shared this information with immigration authorities. A minor discrepancy in an old file could reportedly trigger an investigation. In Chicago, even seeking medical attention could potentially lead to deportation, according to these claims. The text posits that Filipinos are particularly vulnerable in Chicago due to efficiency considerations. Authorities have reportedly stated that Filipinos tend not to cause disturbances, a trait that has allegedly worked against them. With purportedly limited access to legal defense and modest community aid resources, removals are expedited. Ironically, the fact that Filipinos are among the least likely groups to have criminal records allegedly makes their deportation appear straightforward on official records. In Chicago, silence is presented not as a source of safety, but as a factor that makes individuals easier targets. Before we move on, please quickly like this video and subscribe to the channel. Number 8, Los Angeles. The situation in Los Angeles allegedly began with surveillance operations. Enforcement agents reportedly started monitoring neighborhoods such as historic Filipinotown and Koreatown, initially under the pretext of routine traffic enforcement. However, these stops allegedly escalated into targeted detentions. Filipinos who had previously felt safeguarded by the city's sanctuary status were reportedly surprised to discover that this status did not protect them from federal immigration actions. Many purportedly realized too late that county and federal systems continued to share data discreetly. What appeared as random checks allegedly evolved into systematic removals. Unlike other cities mentioned, deportations in Los Angeles are reportedly being driven by efforts to clear backlogs in immigration courts. For years, thousands of Filipino nationals allegedly had cases pending resolution, with some waiting 5 to 7 years for decisions. However, in 2025, Los Angeles courts purportedly received a federal directive to expedite the clearance of these backlogs. This allegedly resulted in the reopening and denial of old asylum claims without warning. International students whose academic programs had concluded long ago were suddenly tracked. A state of legal uncertainty reportedly transformed into deportation. Filipinos in Los Angeles are now allegedly viewed as uncomplicated cases due to factors such as a lack of major criminal history, English proficiency, and existing family ties, which streamline the deportation process administratively. However, behind each case, there is reportedly a caregiver, a nursing student, or a church volunteer. Individuals who have established lives in the city. It is claimed that ICE and the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, are prioritizing deportation volume over justice, and Los Angeles, despite its progressive reputation, has allegedly become a quiet conduit for removing Filipinos, marked by empty residences and unanswered phone calls rather than protests or media coverage. Number 7. New York City. An unusual quietness is reported across Filipino communities in Queens and the Bronx, attributed not to calm conditions but to fear of speaking out. Federal officers have allegedly begun appearing near church festivals, community picnics, and Filipino grocery stores. Several detentions reportedly occurred at such public events this year. Individuals were not hiding but were participating in normal community life, which now feels fraught with risk. Many of those deported were allegedly in a state of legal transition, having filed for family reunification or awaiting green card approval. However, processing delays, missing documentation, or minor application errors reportedly left them unprotected. These individuals were described not as criminals, but as parents, caregivers, and workers whose forms were not processed in time. Due to the accelerated enforcement procedures in New York, they were allegedly removed before their cases could be fully adjudicated. Furthermore, New York City has reportedly become a testing site for new homeland security initiatives. Pilot programs allegedly employ facial recognition technology to track individuals who have overstayed their visas long-term. Filipinos, often employed in home care or as private staff, are claimed to be easily monitored through public transportation cameras and neighborhood surveillance systems. Once identified, they are purportedly processed through the immigration system rapidly. The focus is allegedly on data rather than perceived danger, and Filipinos, previously inconspicuous, are now reportedly under closer scrutiny than ever before. Number 6. San Francisco. In San Francisco, it is claimed that not all deportations begin with border enforcement actions. Many allegedly originate from rent disputes. Filipinos residing in shared housing or informal rental situations have reportedly found themselves vulnerable after being reported by landlords. These reports, initially concerning issues like unpaid rent or noise complaints, now allegedly reach federal databases. Once an individual's name enters the system, ICE reportedly takes over the case. What was previously a local civil matter has purportedly become a pathway to deportation. The underlying reasons for these removals are said to extend beyond visa issues, encompassing gentrification, legal ambiguities, and eroded trust. Landlords seeking to remove tenants allegedly use immigration status as leverage. Eviction court filings are reportedly scanned for foreign-sounding names. Filipinos, who often live in multi-generational households or sublet arrangements, become easily identifiable according to these claims. One case allegedly originated from a neighbor's complaint about parking. The distinction between civil disputes and deportation proceedings has reportedly become blurred. The text questions why Filipinos are targeted in this manner in San Francisco, suggesting it is because the city operates extensively on documented records. Data from social programs to city housing assistance initiatives allegedly feeds into federal systems. Filipinos, known for adhering to rules and maintaining a low profile, often leave digital footprints unknowingly. In 2025, these digital footprints are reportedly being actively tracked. San Francisco, once perceived as safe, liberal, diverse, and immigrant-friendly, now allegedly subjects even its most peaceful areas to quiet surveillance. Before we move on, please quickly like this video and subscribe to the channel. Number 5. Dallas. In Dallas, widespread fear reportedly developed without major media headlines. The situation allegedly began in hospitals, where Filipinos constitute a significant portion of the medical workforce. Rumors materialized as nurses and caregivers began disappearing, often after late-night shifts. Most of these individuals were reportedly not in hiding. They possessed identification cards, work histories, and even U.S. tax records. However, this documentation allegedly proved insufficient. Immigration officers are now purportedly waiting near clinics, targeting individuals who appear to be staff members. The stated reason is a major healthcare audit that exposed deficiencies in licensing and contract violations, particularly within care homes. Many Filipinos allegedly arrived on temporary work visas and never received renewal notifications. Some were reportedly misled by agencies that promised sponsorship but failed to follow through. A few individuals allegedly worked for years under contractor titles that did not align with their visa requirements. This is portrayed as a systemic failure that first disadvantaged the workers and then penalized them for it. Current events are described as feeling like collective punishment. Due to the high concentration of Filipinos in Dallas's caregiving sector, they have allegedly become a broad target. Even legally employed workers now reportedly fear background checks and contract reviews. A single error on a timesheet or one missing form could potentially lead to removal. Dallas, which once welcomed these workers, is now allegedly sending them home discreetly, one shift at a time. The message conveyed is that employment no longer guarantees protection. Number 4. San Diego. While San Diego is located near the coast, for many Filipinos, it now reportedly feels precarious, like being on the edge of a cliff. It is described as a place where families are being separated not by choice, but by court orders. The city's Filipino population includes many households with mixed immigration statuses, where one parent may be a legal resident while the other is not. This difference in status has allegedly become critically consequential. ICE agents are reportedly no longer avoiding homes where U.S. citizen children reside. Instead, they are entering these homes with documentation, prepared to divide families. These removals are often linked to slow or unsuccessful visa petitions. Examples cited include a siblings petition filed in 2012 that remained unprocessed due to backlogs, or a mother's application for adjustment of status denied at the last minute because of a missing signature. Such technicalities now carry significant weight. Cases previously considered pending are allegedly being closed, often unfavorably for the immigrant. In San Diego, paperwork processing is depicted not just as slow, but as having final, potentially permanent consequences for errors. The text questions why San Diego's enforcement is so aggressive, suggesting it functions as a border lab. The federal government is allegedly testing expedited deportation methods here, including mobile courtrooms, facial scanning technology, and real-time tracking of entry data. Filipinos who previously went unnoticed are now reportedly being flagged within days of perceived infractions. Even those traveling to nearby towns for medical care have allegedly been stopped and questioned. San Diego is portrayed as not merely enforcing existing immigration law but actively redefining it, with Filipinos bearing the cost in silence. Number 3. Phoenix. In Phoenix, churches are reportedly no longer considered safe havens. Previously known for offering protection to undocumented immigrants, many Filipino families had sought refuge in local sanctuaries. However, this year, federal agents allegedly began raiding these religious spaces without warning, arresting individuals who had been living inside for months or even years. While videos of these events purportedly did not surface in the news, word spread rapidly within the community. As a result, Filipinos allegedly stopped attending vigils, and families ceased seeking assistance from these institutions, with fear supplanting faith. Most of those removed had reportedly been protected under deferred action programs or had pending applications for humanitarian relief. They were allegedly not hiding due to criminal activity but were hoping for favorable policy changes. However, Arizona's political climate reportedly shifted significantly in 2025. Previous protections were allegedly revoked abruptly, rendering prior agreements invalid. Families who had been promised safety were suddenly taken into detention. Phoenix became characterized as a place where such promises were broken. The text suggests Filipinos were targeted because many sought assistance from churches when faced with difficulties in the legal system, making them easier to locate and remove. State lawmakers reportedly passed new regulations allowing law enforcement to enter places of worship without a warrant if immigration violations were suspected. This measure was presented as closing legal loopholes but, in reality, allegedly targeted vulnerable groups. For Filipinos in Phoenix, even prayer is now described as carrying risk. Number 2, Miami. While Miami's coastal scenery remains attractive, the atmosphere among Filipino workers has reportedly deteriorated rapidly. In recent months, portside communities that once thrived with cruise line employment opportunities now feel deserted. Many Filipinos who worked in behind-the-scenes roles such as kitchens, laundry facilities, and supply docks have allegedly vanished, having been detained quietly and deported swiftly. Families dependent on these incomes are reportedly left in silence and fear, without farewells or explanations. This wave of deportations allegedly followed a federal crackdown on identity fraud. Homeland Security reportedly linked certain employment agencies to falsified employment records and counterfeit work permits. Unfortunately, many Filipinos had reportedly placed their trust in these agencies, unaware they were under investigation. Some were working legally but became ensnared in the broader enforcement action. The system allegedly treated everyone with suspicion, and a single document discrepancy became sufficient grounds for removal. The text asks why Filipinos are so exposed in Miami, attributing it to their visibility. The cruise industry heavily relies on Filipino labor, particularly in less prominent positions. When authorities decided to investigate alleged fraud, the focus reportedly shifted to volume. Filipinos, being numerous, organized, and often employed under temporary contracts, allegedly became the primary targets of this crackdown. Regardless of individual guilt, they were purportedly removed first. In Miami, an individual's job title, rather than their personal circumstances, now allegedly determines their fate. Number 1, Washington, D.C. In the nation's capital, policy changes are described as not just beginning, but striking abruptly. Filipino families residing in Washington, D.C. have reportedly found themselves subjected to new federal immigration experiments. Over 200 individuals have allegedly been removed quietly within the last 18 months. Some had been waiting for years on family-based petitions, while others were caught unprepared by updates to visa policies they were unaware of. These removals reportedly occurred without press conferences or public protests, characterized only by quiet disappearances within a city known for significant decisions. Many of those targeted had allegedly relied on protected status programs such as Temporary Protected Status, TPS, or Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, DACA. However, new rules reportedly changed the criteria for valid status. Some protections were allegedly cancelled retroactively, transforming previously lawful presence into a liability overnight. A visa approved in 2023 might be flagged as problematic in 2025. What was once considered a processing delay is now allegedly classified as a violation. Families possessing legal documentation suddenly found themselves at risk simply because policies changed more rapidly than they could adapt. The text posits that Filipinos are caught in this situation because Washington, D.C. serves as a testing ground for the government's strictest immigration strategies. Every legal ambiguity is allegedly tested, and demographic groups are analyzed. Filipinos, often characterized as non-confrontational and compliant with legal requirements, were reportedly perceived as unlikely to resist enforcement actions. This allegedly made them the initial group subjected to new legal filters. In Washington, D.C., deportation is portrayed not merely as law enforcement but as an experiment, one in which Filipinos are involuntary participants. Do you believe this reported wave of quiet deportations is just commencing? Or is there a larger strategy behind specifically targeting Filipinos in these cities? Please share your perspective in the comments. We are interested in hearing your thoughts on this matter. Also, please mention where you are watching from, as your location might be near one of these cities. Finally, please share this information with anyone who has family members working in the U.S. They deserve to be aware of these reported events before it might be too late.